morning. I'm Eileen Ward, the Wicked Gardener. I want to talk to you today about shrub pruning and how some of the practices that are used can actually damage your shrubs over time. Because we plant plants that are too large for the area at maturity, constant shrub shearing is necessary to keep them within the bounds of your garden. And this constant shrub shearing actually damages. It can cause the plant to be leggy, cause a disease called tip dieback, make them more susceptible to insect infestations. When you've done that, now you have no more buds because you've cut them all off, and you don't have any reserves for food, and your plant doesn't have the ability to make new food, to go down into the roots or to grow new stems and cells. Well, I think you know where this is going. Your plant's not going to make. Here is a perfect example of a plant planted in the wrong place. These are hibiscus along here. You see them? They're all along the front. They want to be 10 and 12 feet tall and equally as wide. So you have all these gardens that are behind here, and if you let these grow, they're going to hide all the other plants that you've got in this walled garden. You actually want to plant plants that are going to stay below this level. And you're also going to have to trim the sides of them all the time to keep them off the other plants that are planted next to them. So constant shearing, they're already a little too large, in my opinion, for this area. You're going to have to constantly shear them. These are hibiscus, which should have, beautiful flowers, but because you're going to be constantly cutting those flowers off, there you are. You're going to have this green shrub that's going to be constantly cut back. When you live up north, your plants will maybe put out an inch or two of growth in a season. Well, down here, they can put out an inch or two in a week. And because we do plant plants that are too large for the area, and we have to constantly keep them trimmed to make them look neat. People like their shrubs to be little boxes and little spheres and little cones and little umbrellas, and they call it the manicured look. And they think that that's the way you should trim because that's what everybody does. But it is not the way to trim. A lot of the maintenance men will also shear the sides of their hedges along with the top. The side of a hedge does not need to be trimmed nearly as often as the top. The top, you have to kind of keep it at a level so, you have the view of the golf course and you want to have that view. So I can see having to keep the top trimmed, but the sides, a Nora Grant Ixora hedge is a fine example. These beautiful flowers, it's summertime. This hedge should be solid pink with flowers. So this is what they do. They go from the bottom and they trim like this. And what they do is they create that hedge that's lower at the bottom than it is at the top. And you see what happens? You start to get sparse growth at the bottom. What you should do is start at the top. And then you've left some buds. Here's the flower right there. I left that, okay? I didn't shear this in so hard that I've taken all the buds away. And I brought my top back in so that the bottom of the hedge is wider than the top. Try not to go from the bottom up when you're trimming, and try to come out a little bit and just touch up your hedge. You don't need to shear this whole thing hard. If you just do a light trimming, make it look neat, you'll have a neat hedge, beautiful flowers, and all will be good. And a formal hedge does need to be sheared on a regular basis during the growing season. You want the top of your hedge to be more narrow than the bottom of your hedge so that the whole facade of the hedge gets sunlight. If you don't do this, if the bottom is more narrow than the top, then you don't get any sunlight and it starts to thin out. And then you lose the privacy that you intended to have with that privacy hedge. You also want to trim while that growth is green and succulent, and rather than letting it harden and get a little bit bigger. I'm taking off pieces that are too big for the hedge trimmers, because what I want to do is I want to come in and I want to reshape this so that this is more narrow than that. So in order to do that with my hedge trimmers, first I've got to take off all of this heavy wood that's too big for the hedge trimmers, and also take off anything that's dead in here too. And let's just get this right out of the bush. Now we're going to take the hedge trimmers, We're going to come along. And voila! You'll have a hedge that will be solid, a beautiful side from top to bottom that will give you the privacy you're looking for in your pool area. So I hope you learned something from my video today about pruning your shrubs and what not to do. And follow me as I unlock the secrets of your subtropical landscapes. It will be a great adventure.